I want to be 100% honest with you guys. This information's not going to benefit you in any way whatsoever. Now that you know that, you can choose to continue watching or just scroll. This is a relatively funny TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows this person outside at nighttime. They then pan the camera up. We then see what looks to be a polar bear, but in reality, this is actually just a snow sculpture. That being said, this weird looking polar bear is based off of this guy, which is known as the 2026 polar bear. For context, this polar bear was made by AI back in 2023. This is actually a Russian meme. And basically, stick with me here, this is a meme from the future, which is why it's called the 2026 polar bear. And in fact, the meme is supposed to make sense in November of 2026, so who knows, maybe next month we'll have the answer for what exactly this means. I meant to say means, but memes works even better.
Oh, this
is not the usual type of topic that I would talk about. However, this is pretty interesting, so I figured we might as well take a stab at it. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this man at the top of a mountain with another climber, and they find this very weird sheet of ice. They then start throwing rocks onto it, and it's not really breaking the ice, and it's just kind of an interesting thing to look at. So a lot of people were wondering what causes this. So specifically, what we're more than likely looking at is a frozen puddle, and this ring formation here is known as concentric rings. These rings can be formed in a variety of different ways, but for the most part, what happens is the water will rapidly cool in the puddle. This will then cause cracks to form in the ice while it's turning into ice. More water gets pushed up between the cracks, this then freezes, and this happens over and over again, which creates that ring-like structure that we see here that looks really unique.
Why the hell did no one know how to draw cats back then?
Okay, we all know what cats look like, so seriously, why do all of these artists from the past not seem to know how to paint them? They look so ridiculous. This is the viral question being posed in this TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows a bunch of these images of paintings with cats that quite frankly do not anatomically make sense. Now, you might be tempted to think that these artists did not know what cats looked like. However, cats were quite common during the era that these were painted. Instead, cats were painted this way because back then they were associated with witchcraft and having a mischievous nature. Because of this, cats were oftentimes painted in a very unsettling way to convey that imagery to the viewer, meaning it had a lot less to do with the artist not being very skilled and perhaps not seeing a cat, and rather just a way to convey the emotion through this painting and how cats were viewed back then. This is obviously very hyperbolic, but if I were on this poop cruise, I would have been tempted to jump into the water and try to swim back to shore, even though I would be guaranteed not to make it. This slideshow doesn't have a lot of context. The first image shows these people on the deck of a ship making the word help out of their bodies. We then get images of people sleeping in the hallway of a cruise ship, makeshift tents on the outer deck, and it's clear something very bad has happened. As previously mentioned, this is an incident referred to as the poop cruise that happened back in 2013 involving the cruise ship, the Carnival Triumph. Due to a fire in the engine room, the Triumph lost propulsion, meaning it was just floating there in the Gulf of Mexico, and on top of that, the toilets were not working, so people had to poop in red disposable bags. Combining the fact there was no AC and poop was everywhere, it smelled absolutely horrible. It took 5 days before they were finally rescued and brought back to land, where they were refunded and given $500 as compensation. Yay!
Wearing this headset will kill you. Ho ho ho!
I've covered a lot of morbid inventions, and this one right here would take the cake, besides the fact it's not actually real or mass-produced. That being said, this is a video that was sent to me through Instagram DM. It shows this guy wearing a VR headset, and you'll notice these two contraptions protruding from the top of it. And the purpose of this as a whole is quite simple. If you die while playing a VR game, you are going to die in real life. First off, I do want to say this video was uploaded by IdkSterling on Instagram if you want to watch the full reel. But basically the way this works is there appear to be 22 cartridges inside of these tubes or some other type of propulsion mechanism. And when you die in game, a certain input triggers those and it sends a nail shooting through the tube. So again, obviously this is not real or something that people are going to be buying, but it does remind me a lot of this helmet with shells inside of it. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, the user of this, instant.
This girl is lucky to be alive.
Holy moly, guys. Could we get a Parents of the Year award for this young girl's parents? Okay, I'll drop the sarcasm, but seriously, I don't know why you would let this happen. This video shows a bison. Clearly, everybody here is way too close. The bison then gets angry and charges at this 9-year-old girl, tossing her up a few feet into the air. This incident took place quite a while ago, back in 2019 in Yellowstone, and this is something that we see a lot. Tourists can't seem to wrap their head around the fact that bison are not to be underestimated. They are pretty fast when they want to be, and they will be aggressive if they feel like they need to be. Despite this fact, every single year there are tourists that get far too close, trying to take photos, or just straight up antagonizing the beasts. And as a result, sometimes people get injured. Fortunately, only 2 people have lost their lives since 1872. This 9-year-old was fine, but still, why would you mess with something the size of a small car? Sorry for cutting the clip off, guys, but this is another video where if I were to show the entire thing, it would definitely get taken down. The clip that you guys just watched shows an Indonesian bodybuilder by the name of Justin Vicky attempting to lift 460 pounds on a barbell squat. It's clear that the weight is quite heavy for him. He descends, he's unable to get back up, and the clip cuts off before the worst happens. Justin Vicky was a motivational speaker, bodybuilder, athlete, and as a result had quite a few followers who looked up to him. During the back squat though, he ended up biting off more than he could chew, and instead of being able to lift the weight back up, the barbell pushed forward, breaking his neck. Justin initially survived and was rushed to the hospital. However, later in surgery, he fell into a coma and passed away. This could have very much been avoided had he been utilizing some safety arms for the squat rack. This would have caught the weight. Or if he had been able to bail from the squat, which is something that everybody should know how to do if you're squatting a lot of weight. If you guys are like me, you're probably lost and confused as to what's going on in this video, so don't worry, I'll give you guys the context. The video that you guys just watched has been making its rounds on social media for a very big reason. This supposedly proves the death of somebody to possibly be on purpose, a murder, instead of an accident, which is what was initially believed. For some background, on September 11th, a Chinese actor by the name of Yu Menglong ended up falling out of a high-rise in Beijing and did not survive his fall. The official report here, including what his mother stated happened, was that Yu Menglong consumed a little bit too much alcohol and fell out of a window, and that no foul play was involved. This is the officially accepted explanation. But this video has people convinced otherwise because this appears to be the exact same window that Yu fell out of, and we can allegedly hear Yu yelling in here, so people think foul play was involved. I think it's true what they say. Your animal's intuition is almost always right, and this guy right here kind of proved it. This TikTok slideshow first has the caption, "Chinese man smashes floor of rental unit after dog constantly scratches at it." There's then an image bolstering this, showing a young puppy scratching at this tile, and the man using power tools to break through that tile and see what's underneath. As previously mentioned, this is something that took place in China, and this was actually very recently, as recent as September 10th of 2025. And you'll notice, if you look at this tile the dog is scratching at, it is completely different than these tiles that are surrounding it. So a lot of people were stating maybe there's a body underneath this. In reality, when this guy broke through, he found a very small red sack that contained 5 ancient copper coins dating back to the Qing dynasty, known as the 5 Emperors coins. This video might be pretty unassuming, but once you hear the translation for this, it becomes abundantly clear that this is a very disturbing video. This video shows a smiling soldier from the Thai army known as Jakrapantha talking about how his trigger finger is tired from how much use it's getting, which by itself is already a very weird thing to say. For context, back in February of 2020, Jakrapantha committed one of the most deadly mass shootings in Thailand's history, known as the Nakhon Ratchasima shooting. He was supposedly mad at his commanding officer and his commanding officer's mother-in-law for cutting him out of a property deal and not giving him his money back, which resulted in him taking the life of the commanding officer and the mother-in-law, and then stealing military equipment, going to a crowded shopping center, and taking the lives of 29 individuals, wounding 58 others. This attack lasted from February 8th to February 9th before he was finally subdued and his life was lost in the process. This clip is actually terrifying, the speed and swiftness of this, but fortunately this guy was caught and apprehended. The video that you guys just watched was recorded in China. It shows this woman and her daughter opening up this apartment, about to go inside, when out of nowhere, this man wearing a red rain jacket pulls the mother inside, then quickly comes back outside, grabs the daughter, and the door slams shut behind them. For context, this happened back in 2022 in eastern China, Liang, Shandong province, involving a man by the name of Zhan, and he was the ex-husband of this woman, and this was his daughter. Apparently, this happened as a result of some sort of dispute, which led to him dragging them into the apartment. He stayed there for quite some time. While the daughter was asleep, he did some non-consensual things with his ex-wife. After doing this, he fled the apartment. She called the police, and they did apprehend him. Not too sure what happened to him after this, but I would imagine he hopefully got punished. I'm going to maintain that this was a horrible idea. This went on far too long, but I'm going to also state that the boat probably did not sink here. The video that you guys just watched shows a group of friends, all of them sitting on the bow of this boat. This guy can be seen attempting to splash water into the boat every single time they go over a wave, and he does it so much that the entire inside of the boat appears to fill up with water. It looks like it's about to sink, and that's when the video cuts off. Now, I do want to be clear, it's definitely possible to sink these recreational boats. However, it is quite difficult to do so. More often than not, you're not going to end up sinking a boat just by getting water on the inside of it. You have to do something much more dramatic, like hit a log, for example, that puts a hole in the boat so water starts flowing in. A lot of these recreational boats also have a bunch of foam on the inside of the hull, which provides extra buoyancy. So again, if you get water on the inside, this will be offset by that foam. Keep seeing this video reposted on Instagram over and over again, and it's enough. I can't see this misinformation spread anymore. This video shows a person receiving what looks to be a heel massage. There's these white bubbles that appear to be on this person's heel as well. And every single time I've seen this video posted, the claim is that this is a surefire sign of something known as plantar fasciitis. For context, plantar fasciitis is inflammation of this right here, the plantar fascia, which is a thick band of tissue that runs from your heel to your toes. This can be caused by things like overuse, and while this person might actually have plantar fasciitis, here's the deal. It is not something that you can physically see, so you're not going to be able to tell somebody has plantar fasciitis by doing this test on the heel. Rather, this white and yellow appearance is more than likely due to the actual fat pad that's on your heel. If you push on your own heel, this is something you'd probably see.
If you see this on the road, don't hit it. Ho ho ho!
I watched this video for what felt like an hour trying to figure out what I was looking at, and I finally believe I have the puzzle cracked. This video shows a person driving down a road. In the distance, there's this weird object that appears to be floating, and it really does not make sense in terms of depth perception as to what's going on here. Upon observing this over and over again, though, I found one shape that appears to be consistent with what we saw in the original video, and that is the back end of an owl flying. Given the fact that this video was recorded at nighttime and owls are excellent gliders, I believe that we're probably looking at a large owl that actually has a bird in its talons, because down here we can see another pair of wings flapping, so this owl likely just picked up dinner. In terms of the exact type of owl, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't feel confident because the resolution's very low, but I do know that great horned owls are very large and have a large wingspan.
We want this on video? Alright, goodbye, Breeze.
What this guy did was genuinely insane, and I honestly cannot believe that he only got 10 years behind bars for this. The video that you guys just watched shows a round man standing on a driveway, aiming a pew-pew at the person recording, a woman by the name of Patricia, stating that she's going to meet Jesus, and this is where the video cuts off. For context, there are two individuals in this video, Patricia, the one that's recording, and Carrie, the one standing on the driveway here. This case took place in December of 2021 after Carrie found out that Patricia was having an affair. On this fateful day, Carrie and Patricia ended up arguing for about 30 minutes while their daughter was at school. Eventually, it culminated in both of them stating that they were done with one another, and this was the point that Carrie pulled out this pew-pew and used it on Patricia, ending her life. In court, he argued guilty by crime of passion, and because of this, he was only given 10 years behind bars, with 5 years minimum before parole. Oh, I know what you're thinking right out of the gate. Are these people expecting to be raptured? And the answer to that is, I'm pretty sure no. This is a viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that was uploaded last month. However, it just started going viral. It shows a large gathering of people looking up at the sky, praising it. And if you guys have been on TikTok the past week, or really anywhere, on the 23rd, there was expected to be a rapture. So I'm pretty sure people saw this and thought these people were expecting to be raptured up in this video, when that's not really the case. Instead, I believe this video was recorded at this Calvary Marama Hill located in Uganda. According to my research, this is a very popular place to go for worship, and I honestly can see why. It's beautiful, there's a massive opening right here. It looks like the perfect place to praise whatever God you believe in. More than likely Christianity here, though.
You're such a brave person.
I'm broken.
Fortunately, this situation did have a good ending, but the people that did this to this streamer are absolutely horrible people. The video that you guys just watched shows a streamer crying out, and that's because he just lost $31,000 in crypto. You also probably notice he does not have hair on his head, and that's because he has stage 4 cancer. So the streamer in question here is Rostaland, a Latvian-based streamer with stage 4 cancer, and to try to fund some of his treatment, he decided to start a cryptocurrency and raise funds for it. He successfully raised $31,000, which is a lot of money, and during one of his streams, he was recommended to play a game by the name of Block Blasters, but in reality, this game contained malware that ended up stealing all $31,000 meant to go towards his treatment. This of course crushed him, which it would with anybody, but fortunately the community rallied, he made his money back, and some of the people actually got exposed. If you took 99% of people, they would probably die if they were put in the exact same situation as this guy, but miraculously he survived and he still has his arms today. This is a creepy TikTok video that I got tagged in showing this family right here. The caption says, POV, you wake up on a farm in North Dakota and your arms are gone. Then get a clip of a dummy being pulled into a power takeoff shaft, and another image of the same man seen at the beginning. The man seen at the beginning here is the focal point of this video, John Thompson, a farmer. Back in 1992, he was feeding some pigs when his shirt got caught in this rotating section known as a power takeoff shaft, which ended up ripping off both of his arms entirely. John passed out, woke up, and realized his arms were gone, so he walked back to his house, used a pencil to call 911 on a phone. His arms were collected, they were transported to the hospital, reattached, and he went through a coma, but somehow pulled through despite all of these complications, including infection. Just giving you guys a warning right now, I'm going to be using a lot of euphemisms in this video, meaning I can't directly say things, so just keep that in mind. That being said, this is a very disturbing video that was sent to me through Instagram. It doesn't appear like it on the surface though. It shows this mother pushing her baby in a baby stroller. She then turns with her baby stroller about to cross the street, and as fate would have it, this would be a huge mistake. Now for context, this is an incident that took place back in 2021 in the Shalovo district located in Russia. While this mother was crossing the street with her baby, a man fell from the 17th story of a building above the stroller and landed directly on the stroller. Obviously he did not make it, and the baby unfortunately did not either. At this height, the man would have been traveling around 70 miles per hour, so again, really no shot of survival. You might think that this is rogue AI or a rogue delivery robot, but it goes a lot deeper than this, and it's kind of disturbing actually. The video that you guys just watched shows a person with cerebral palsy, therefore they're in a motorized wheelchair, and they're attempting to pass this delivery robot. As soon as they're about to pass the delivery robot, it cuts in front of them, and at one point they even get brake checked by this delivery robot. Now these delivery robots are relatively new, they're mostly seen in large cities, there are many different types of them, and the entire purpose is to deliver food through pedestrian-friendly walkways. These robots utilize GPS systems as well as AI to help guide them to their destinations, but there are actually people as well on the other side of these robots, just in case things go wrong, that manually guide them. This type of activity here with this robot swerving like they're having road rage trying to prevent you from passing is more than likely somebody actually doing this manually, and that's sick.
Oh, it actually smells like dog shit in my room.
Surface level, this clip might be very, very concerning, but I'm not too convinced it's real, and I'll tell you guys why. The clip that you guys just watched was taken from a Twitch stream. This guy's name is Bodiggles. He's not super duper popular on Twitch. In the video, he can be seen talking about how his room smells terrible. He then pulls out a lighter to do a methane test, and it appears as though his entire setup blows up and the stream ends. But first off, methane explosions definitely happen, and they have devastating results. As you guys can see, this entire house is strewn everywhere. But with that being said, this guy doing a methane test with a lighter seems like something that nobody in their right mind would actually do, especially seeing as this would acknowledge that he knows methane is flammable. On top of this, at the time that this video was recorded 2 years ago, fake explosions on Twitch were a very popular thing to do to try to get more engagement. And also, the update that we got were a couple photos that aren't too convincing. Even if these two kids didn't intend for the loss of life to happen here, this was still something they should have been smart enough to avoid. The video that you guys just watched shows two young men standing outside of this residence, one of them on this fence, breaks a hole in this window, then places something inside, and then both of them run away, giggling. This is an incident that took place in the UK involving 3 individuals, an 18-year-old by the name of Nathan, his 16-year-old friend that's unnamed, and a 76-year-old widower by the name of Robert Price. On this particular day, Nathan and his friend were playing around with fireworks when they ended up at Robert's place. They talked to Robert for a little bit, they then threatened to torch him, and because of this, they broke a hole in his window, tossed in a lit firework, and this caused a house fire. Sadly, Robert was not able to be saved and passed away. Nathan was given 6 years behind bars for this, and his 16-year-old friend was given a custodial sentence of 2 years and 8 months.
You gotta call it. You sure? Yeah, because people's not reacting at all.
If you didn't know any better, looking at this fighter, you might think that he's ready to go back out there and throw some more punches and be on the receiving end, but you would be wrong. This is a video that was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, this fighter can be seen standing right here. We have somebody checking up on him, making sure that he's okay. You can see that she's checking his eyes, stating that his pupils are not reacting, and her deciding not to let him fight very well might have just saved his life. For those that don't know, your pupils react to light. The more light there is, the smaller your pupils get, and the less light, the larger they get. In certain scenarios, though, your pupils might not react, and this is a telltale sign of damage to your brainstem, especially involving activities like fighting, where you're getting hit in the head. And this is very dangerous because your brainstem controls all of your essential things like breathing, heartbeat, etc. If it shuts down, you shut down, and you're dead. I am not an electrician, not in the slightest, and I can tell you with confidence, do not plug this in. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in. It went extremely viral. It shows this person with a USB-A type of cord, and right inside this compartment, we can see a bunch of light being emitted, a humming sound, not good signs. Now, more than likely, what we're looking at inside of that USB-A connection is a small form of an electrical arc. Usually, air acts as an insulator, electricity does not travel through it. However, under the right conditions, especially if wires are damaged, that electricity can actually travel through the air, and that's when you see that bright flash, and this is what's known as the arc. This is extremely dangerous because not only you yourself could be electrocuted, but this also can cause electrical fires even if you're nowhere near it. I'm not too sure how this person managed to do this, but I will say be very careful touching this and unplugging it. Don't be mad at me, I promise you guys I'm going to show you the full unedited version of this video, but this is the one that I got tagged in, which is why I'm using this first. This is a video that I've seen pop up in my mentions over the past couple of weeks. It shows this man standing underneath this large ride, and the video cuts off before this thing seemingly hits this guy, and there's this large fabricated story that people have been making up about this original clip. First off, the account that originally posted this clip is Lifestyle of a Resi on TikTok. The video went super viral, and all of these other creepy TikTok accounts have tried to take this original clip and state that he lost his life by getting hit in the head underneath this ride, which is oftentimes referred to as the booster. In reality, though, absolutely nothing happened to this guy, and as you can see, he was more than far enough away to avoid getting hit. And that makes sense because they're not going to set these rides up in a way that you would be able to get hit if you were standing off to the side. That makes no logical sense. From the point that this happened, this guy was basically dead and there wasn't anything that could have been done. The video that you guys just watched shows a man standing inside of a very severely damaged sunken road inspecting it, and out of nowhere this portion of dirt and concrete ends up collapsing, and I cut the video off before he gets crushed, but he gets buried underneath it. For context, this is an incident that happened on September 10th of 2025 involving this beloved worker in Thailand, Praset. Praset was inspecting a road that had a substantial amount of flood damage when he suddenly got buried. Even though there were people on site, it took them about 20 minutes to pull him out, and by the time that they had done that, it was pretty much game over for Praset. He suffered multiple broken bones, severed intestines, and his lungs had broken and punctured his lungs and spleen. Unfortunately, despite being rushed to the hospital, Praset passed away on September 11th, one day later.
What happens when you're allergic to mosquitoes? Ho ho ho!
Now, for me personally, when I get bit by a mosquito, the bump is much larger than it should be. However, this is a completely different level. This is a super viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this person recording their legs. On their legs, you'll notice there are massive blisters filled with fluid, and this is what happens when you are extremely allergic to mosquito bites. Now, first off, I do want to say, if you're allergic to other types of bites, this type of thing can happen. There are many different types of insects that do bite you, but this is more than likely something referred to as Skeeter syndrome, and this is when the body reacts extremely negatively towards proteins that are released in a female mosquito's saliva when they bite you. Now, I know it might be tempting, but you should never pop these blisters if you do get them. Instead, you should go to a medical professional immediately and have them drain it for you so that you're not introducing new bacteria into the wound and potentially causing a life-threatening infection. While I will agree this is a very bizarre YouTube video to upload, I am not convinced that this is real. This is a YouTube video that was recently reposted to TikTok. In it, this guy can be seen stating, when they have nothing, they'll eat whatever you give, and then saying, because I plan to bring them to a more peaceful place. And this is kind of sinister. So for some backstory, over the past few weeks, this Filipino YouTuber by the name of Sam Ginto has fallen under fire by allegedly getting arrested after creating this video giving food and Bible to homeless people. A bunch of people are alleging that he poisoned food and then gave it to the homeless people to clean up the streets and, again, bring them to a more peaceful place. A lot of the scenes from the video have him acting very strange as well, like doing this. But again, I'm not too convinced. There's not really any official article about this. I haven't seen any official arrest records, so I think this is probably more for publicity. After watching these clips, I would have bet money that at least 1 or 2 people ended up losing their lives, but fortunately, somehow that did not happen. The video that you guys just watched was recently recorded in Bangkok, Thailand, and in it is a glaringly obvious sinkhole that's consistently swallowing up larger and larger portions of this road. These people are standing here recording it, and then they nearly get dragged in themselves. So as previously mentioned, this is an incident that took place outside of a hospital in Bangkok, Thailand, very recently this September. Unlike most of the sinkholes that I talk about though, this one was allegedly man-made and the result of construction that was taking place on a subway tunnel below this street. This sinkhole obviously caused road closures, ended up resulting in a bunch of evacuations of these buildings and the damage of 3 vehicles, but nobody was pulled in, which is very lucky. Even though there was virtually a 0% chance of survival when this happened, these people were so desperate that they tried anyways, and that's honestly very tragic. The video that you guys just watched shows this group of people hanging on to the side of a US military plane. The next half of the clip then shows the plane after taking off, and these circles around dots falling from the plane. You guys know exactly what those are. People. For context, this video was recorded on August 16th of 2021 during the Afghan exodus. This was when the US military left Afghanistan, leaving the rule to the Taliban, and a bunch of people decided to leave because they had been aiding the Western forces, so they were worried about their safety. Some of these refugees were successfully brought away from Afghanistan, but others were not so lucky, left to be this desperate, and as a result, many of them lost their lives, not just these 2. The fact that this guy survived is actually mind-blowing, especially considering this last slide here. The slideshow that you guys just watched doesn't have a whole lot of context. The first image shows a human-sized package with ropes attached to it. The second slide confirms it, showing what's absolutely a human inside of it with a bunch of rescue workers. And we finally get context with the final slide, showing this man inside of a cave with his head crushed. This slideshow is referring to an incident that took place back in 2014 in Germany in the Reisending cave involving this guy, Johann. While Johann was approximately 1 kilometer inside of the cave, he ended up suffering a traumatic brain injury from a rock fall. This then required one of the largest coordinated cave rescues ever, involving over 700 people and 11 days, where they went in, retrieved Johann, and brought him out safely for him to actually make a miraculous recovery. Imagine spending 11 days underground.
These chickens are being thrown away like trash.
This is yet another video that has no context, nor an exact answer to what's happening, so again, I'm speculating here, but I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. This is a super viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows a large dump truck trailer dropping a load of dead chickens. And as you guys can see, there are a few chickens that are alive, so what's the purpose of doing this? There are two options here. Number one is culling. This is when they remove chickens from a flock because they're being unproductive. This is not what I think is happening though, just because they're dumping so many chickens. Rather, when you see large truckloads of dead chickens being disposed of like this, usually that's the result of those chickens having a certain illness, and they just need to kill them off so they don't spread that illness to other parts of the flock. Sorry guys, I have something to confess. I made up melting eye syndrome. This is not an actual thing. This is a super viral TikTok video that I got tagged in with the caption, "Why is my eye color coming out for real?" We then see this area right here where this sludge is coming out and it looks like it's the exact same color as her eye. And then she dabs it away while looking shocked. Now, while there are a lot of things that can happen to your iris, which is the portion of your eye that contains the color, your iris is really not going to liquefy and melt out like this. Therefore, I believe this is probably some sort of makeup or other substance that she got into her eye. That being said, some of the things that can happen to your iris: a collapsed iris, this is what it looks like. You can suffer from something known as an iris prolapse, which is where the iris pops out of the cornea of the eye. This is quite serious. Or you can have cases where the iris develops differently and it looks as though it's melting, though it's not actually doing so. Even though there are countless videos of people making this exact same mistake, a new one pops up every single year. So let's visit this topic again. The video that you guys just watched shows this young man cutting open this above ground pool. Obviously, they're going to replace this or get rid of it. And as it turns out, there was a lot more water in this pool than they thought, so there was a massive torrent of water that came down, sweeping the kid off his feet and blasting him straight through a wooden fence. Now, if you don't care about your lawn, this part doesn't matter, but putting chlorinated water on it is going to kill it, not to mention this amount of water will drown some of your grass. It also looks like you don't have neighbors, but if you did have a smaller plot of land and neighbors, that could potentially kill their lawn as well. Really, the most accepted way to get water out of a pool is by using a pump, and no, you're not supposed to put that water into a storm drain, you're supposed to put it in the sewer line so it can go to the treatment plant. Also, if there were nails on the boards of that fence, this could have been much worse too. Full disclosure, I'm not too sure whether or not these people survived or if they passed away because there were some conflicting reports here, but I'm going to choose to believe that they got lucky and survived. For context, this is an incident that was recorded in Ensenada, Mexico. Of course, on the coast here, we can see these individuals standing very close to a violent inlet. Pretty much all of them then get swept into this aerated water, and a few of them jump in to try to save people. Now, first off, La Bufadora, Ensenada, which is the location where this happened, is a spot that you should not be going down anywhere close to the water because it is so violent. Water here is aerated, meaning it's very difficult to swim in. This is something that we've covered a million times, so I don't need to delve into that. Not to mention, rocks are extremely jagged, and even if you are able to stay above the waves, you're still going to have a difficult time clinging to the wall to get out while other waves are battering you. All in all, if these people did survive, they are exceptionally lucky.
A dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It came out of here. I didn't know.
This is a very bizarre case that still hasn't gone to trial, so keep in mind everything here is completely alleged because it's still in development. The video that you guys just watched shows a medical professional stating to Alexi Treviso and her guardian that she found a dead baby in the trash can in the restroom. Alexi then starts crying and breaking down, and this video by itself paints a very dark picture. In January of 2023, Alexei went to the Artesia hospital complaining of back pain. She then locked herself in a restroom and gave birth to a boy who was later found by a janitor inside of a trash bin, no longer alive. After the autopsy, Alexei was arrested and charged in May of 2023 with first-degree murder. However, things were not this cookie-cutter because this alleged confession caught on tape here violated patient-doctor privilege. So at this point, it appears as though the case is at a standstill and being reviewed by the New Mexico Supreme Court.
Whatever you do, don't put your hand in the water.
Money!
Most of the time when this is something I ask, I almost always say no. This time though, I would actually do this for $1 million. The video that you guys just watched shows this person holding a brown blob. They then place it inside of this basket that kind of looks like a deep fryer, and within a few short seconds, the blob is completely covered in these writhing creatures. Now what we're looking at here are hungry juvenile eels, and it's their dinner time. The eels featured in this video are more than likely the same that are found in Japanese eel farms, and these are used for human consumption. In terms of these unappetizing blobs, more than likely this is made out of fish meal, soybeans, and fish oil, and this will provide more than enough sustenance for these eels to grow up and be used for food. While these baby eels are carnivorous, if you were to jump in yourself, you'd probably be just fine, and you would more than likely not be bit very much, if at all.
This is what a true monster looks like.
If I were to ask you to think about a pig, you'd probably think about a standard pink domesticated one. This right here though, this is an actual pig. This is a super viral TikTok video that I got tagged in. There's literally nothing going on here besides this large pig consuming some food, and it has this small caption, Duroc Americano, which is the type of pig we're looking at. The American Duroc pig is a very particular type of pig that weighs between 500 to 900 pounds, and despite the fact they look extremely intimidating and like they would be the type of pig that would consume a human, like we've talked about before in the past, these types of pigs are actually known to be quite docile, not aggressive, and easy to raise. Of course, it does depend on the type of environment that they're in though. Now, the main reason why people breed Duroc pigs is obviously not for the looks, it's instead for the meat. The meat is usually much more intense in flavor, it's got a nice marble finish as well to it, so, you know, I don't eat this type of meat, but I can see why.
Would you jump in for $1 million?
There's probably a lot of people watching this that are new viewers to my channel, but man, this video right here is very nostalgic to watch. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a person recording a very fast flowing stream of water. The question is posed, would you swim in this for $1 million? At first, you might think, maybe I'd have a chance at survival. But once you see the bottom, it's very clear that you would not survive going down this. I don't care if you think you would, you're not going to. What we're looking at is another example of something known as a dam spillway. You guys probably remember me recently talking about spillways that look like this with a hole. These spillways serve the exact same purpose, removing excess water from reservoirs in a controlled way. This level of flow right here is definitely not normal. This is very excessive. In fact, on a lot of dam spillways like this, people will use them like water slides. Though this is definitely not recommended, I am not endorsing people to go do this.
Kurwa, nie chce się nic.
I was debating on talking about this because this is such a niche video, but there are some important lessons to be learned here, so let's talk about it. The video that you guys just watched shows a Polish influencer on Instagram Live, and I say the word influencer lightly because she only has 2 viewers. In this video, she appears to be standing on this rooftop. She takes a drag of her cigarette, runs, jumps off the edge, and then she starts crying out of pain because this was not a very smart idea. Based on the amount of time she spent falling, it appears as though she probably fell a height of around 30 feet or just under 10 meters, which is reasonably below the LD50 for lethal height distance, which means the amount of height that it would take for 50% of people falling from it to pass away. She was at 30 feet right here, which equates to about a 30% chance of death. I'm honestly just shocked that she did this for only 2 viewers, and to be honest, I don't even know her name.
You use it to pry out this lid, and the inside is this little shiny ball. Or something.
Okay, obviously this exact object featured in this video is not real. However, if this was real, the person recording would undeniably die. The video that you guys just watched shows a replica of something referred to as the Demon Core. In it, we can see this small ball of metal sitting between 2 larger half spheres. And when this half sphere falls and makes contact with this one, and the small ball is contained on the inside, the spheres all turn blue. The demon core, though, itself was completely real. The inner core was made out of plutonium, and then these two half spheres were made out of beryllium. Without getting into too much detail, the plutonium core could not be completely covered by the two half spheres, otherwise it would reach supercriticality, and this would release a lethal amount of radiation. Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened to one scientist by the name of Louis Slotin, who accidentally let go of a screwdriver holding the two spheres up, and he died. Whenever you're in a horror movie and you see a little girl, you're supposed to turn around and run the opposite direction. But in this case, it's a good thing that these YouTubers did not do that. The video that you guys just watched was uploaded 9 years ago by Steve Ronan to YouTube. It shows him and his group walking through this cave by themselves. And out of nowhere, they run into a young girl that looks lost and confused inside of the cave by herself. As previously mentioned, this was uploaded by Steve Ronan 9 years ago, so if you guys want to watch the original video, feel free to do that. But to paraphrase, him and his crew were in Washington, my home state, at a cave known as Ape Cave. This is basically an old volcanic tube caused by the Mount St. Helens eruption. It's a common walking path as well. People like to explore it. It's very cool. But it's also very dark, and if you don't have a flashlight, it's easy to get lost, especially as a kid. So when they found this little girl, they brought her back to her family safely. So I guess the lesson here is always keep an eye on your kids if you're going to a cave and make sure you're prepared.
Never jump on an underwater trampoline. Ho ho ho!
Show of hands, how many people would jump on a trampoline in water like this? I'm sorry to tell you, if your hand is up, your tailbone would be bruised. This is a video that one of my friends, Edmund Rambo, found, so shout out to him. In it, this group of friends can be seen standing poolside, and they've decided to cook up their own fun by submerging a trampoline, thinking that this would work and cushion their landing. Somebody then jumps in though, and they find out very quickly this was not a great idea. Now, first off, for reference, there are only 2 scenarios where trampolines and waters mix. Right here, trampoline sitting on top of water, and right here, trampoline fully submerged for the use of aquatic therapy. Putting your trampoline in water like this, though, is a recipe for disaster because the force will be dispersed when you jump in because that water dissipates your weight. So instead of the trampoline going straight down, it's like landing on a concrete floor. To be honest, you'd be better off belly flopping or back flopping than doing this. For the most part, in Western culture, this would be considered a very morbid way to dispose of deceased individuals, but in other cultures, this is considered to be a very good thing to do. This 4-image slideshow doesn't have a whole lot of context. The first image shows this group of people carrying what looks to be a body. The next image shows a large hole. We then get an image of vultures sitting on the edge of this hole, and finally, art depicting exactly what happens here. Now, for context, these structures right here are oftentimes referred to as towers of silence, and these structures are used by Zoroastrians to dispose of their deceased in a process known as a sky burial. Bodies are brought to this outer area. In the middle, there's a central well where the bones will be disposed of later, and birds will come in like vultures to consume the body, and this is known as the final act of charity because it's unholy for a body to be touching the earth, according to Zoroastrians.
A man's newborn puppy, just 2 days old, became rigid right after drinking milk. Figurine.
Hopefully, most people watching this video will never have to go through a situation like this, but if you do, this is important to know. This is a viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this pretty much newborn puppy completely stiff. So much so to the point that the person recording can literally put the puppy down on the ground and it stands up like an action figure motionless. Now, when it comes to adult dogs, there are a variety of different things that can cause muscle stiffness like this, but typically in the case of newborn puppies, this means that the puppy is not able to breathe, aka asphyxiation, and it could be caused from a few different things. Either way, when this happens, you have to take immediate action, otherwise the puppy will more than likely die, so in order to resuscitate it, you should take it to a vet ASAP, and if you don't have access to a vet, perform artificial respiration, provide air to the dog manually, and do chest compression. It's kind of like CPR. Alright, this is not a warning that anybody's really going to need, but just in case, please do not do this, guys. Don't try this at home. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in that went pretty viral. It shows a man appearing to tattoo half of his face. He's tattooed his eyelid, and he's pretty much just filling in every square inch of skin. All the while, it looks as though he's in great pain, and I've got to give it to him, he's a great actor. Upon going to his account, he's uploaded multiple videos since the original video, and as you can see, half of his face is not tattooed. That being said, of course, there are people that do get smaller face tattoos, and some people that go to even further extremes. For getting a face tattoo, though, you should know that the face is one of the most painful places to get a tattoo because thin is very skin, and oftentimes there's not a lot of fat to absorb the impact of the needle. As such, doing something like this for real at home by yourself is a very bad idea, and you're opening yourself up to infection. As you guys could imagine, 5 young boys going missing and being found dead would probably have a lot of people trying to figure out what happened. In this case, though, that answer has never been found. This is a TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in that starts off by showing an image of 5 young boys from South Korea. We then get an image of Mount Waryong Park, TV interviews, and people handing out missing persons posters. This is a case that took place back in 1991 in Daegu, South Korea, and these guys right here are often referred to as the Frog Boys. The 5 went missing after going out and looking for salamander eggs, and their remains were not found until 11 years later. Initially, the cause of death was believed to have been cold exposure. However, there was blunt force trauma on some of the skulls, as well as bullet holes, so obviously that's not the case. There are lots of theories about what might have happened to them, including corruption, but nothing has been solved. Video topics like this always make me sad because it's a reminder that life, it's not predictable. You never know when your last day on Earth is. The video that you guys just watched shows a couple that just recently got married. They're clearly very happy. Everybody here is smiling. The caption here says, "From wife to widow, all in the same day," and unfortunately, the caption here is true. This incident happened back in 2024 after Tyrek Burton got married to the love of his life, who he had been with for 16 years. A while after the wedding, Tyrek left to go back home under the impression that his bride was back home. However, she was not, so he made a U-turn to go back and pick her up without realizing that he had cut somebody off. The person that Tyrek accidentally cut off got enraged, then followed Tyrek back to the park where he took his life using a firearm. A completely senseless loss of life, and even worse, Tyrek left behind children. It's just horrible. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert in this topic, and there are certain cases where this cream is necessary to be used, but for the most part, it's not. This is a viral TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this person peeling off the top layer of their skin, revealing fairer, lighter skin underneath. And the entire purpose for this video is to be an ad to promote this lightening cream. First off, to understand what's going on here, melanin is what makes your skin whatever color it is, and this is present in the epidermis, the outermost layer of your skin. Most people are familiar with their epidermis peeling when they get a sunburn, for example. But chemicals can also have the same effect and cause that outer layer to peel, which is exactly what a lot of these products do. The only time these products really should be used is when you have hyperpigmentation or you want to, remove wrinkles or other blemishes on your body. It's more damaging, though, when you do this just for the sake of bleaching skin. And yet, there are still people out there that think they would easily be able to survive getting swept over a low head dam. The video that you guys just watched shows a woman wearing a life jacket about to go over a simulated low head dam. She drops in, disappears for about 5 seconds, pops back up, and attempts to swim away. But instead of being successful, she almost gets pulled back under, so she's rescued with these long poles. She is not alone, though. 99.99% of people that fall into this are not going to make it out and survive without help, and these are referred to as drowning machines because of this. Right here, you have what's known as the boil. This is the frothy part of the water coming up, and below the surface is the roller, which is what traps you and prevents you from getting out. Escaping a low head dam is almost impossible. The best chance that you have is to dive as deep as possible and push off from the stream bed or whatever below and try to get downstream.
Why this huge rock refuses to sink?
There are a few different things that this could be, and while I don't have a complete guaranteed answer, I'm pretty sure that this is just a block of pumice. The video that you guys just watched shows a man picking up what appears to be a very heavy rock. He then stands over this water, tosses it in, there's a large splash, so we think that it probably just sank down to the bottom, but it pops right back up and starts floating on the surface of the water. I would be tempted to say that this is just a block of styrofoam that was painted to look like a rock, but given the fact there was this large of a splash, I do think that it is indeed a pumice stone. Pumice is a porous volcanic rock, meaning there's a bunch of small holes that trap gas on the inside, and therefore it is a low-density rock. And when it comes to whether or not something's going to float in water, it all depends on the density. If the density is lower than water's density, which is 1 gram per centimeter cubed, then it's going to float, and it doesn't really matter how heavy the object is. It's all about the density.
You have rain? Oh, it's rain.
Let's go. If you're not familiar with what this means, this might not seem like a very big deal, just a couple of raindrops, but it could be the difference between life or death. The clip that you guys just watched shows these two explorers walking through a very narrow canyon. This is oftentimes referred to as a slot canyon. And the person walking in front feels a raindrop on their palm. It's at this point they realize that they need to get out of this slot canyon ASAP because that might save their life. So first off, slot canyons are very popular. People oftentimes take beautiful hikes through them, and for the most part, they are completely safe. During rain or thunderstorms, though, they are the last place that you want to be because there is an extremely high risk of flash flooding. This is why it's always pertinent to check the weather forecast before going hiking in at least a 50-mile radius, because even distant thunderstorms and rainstorms can lead water to that slot canyon and cause it to fill up within a matter of seconds. I know this looks like a cute and lighthearted video, but this chipmunk is loving this cat pretty much against its will. This is a viral TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows this orange cat appearing to play around with this chipmunk, and the chipmunk, instead of being fearful, looks like it's also playing. It's completely unafraid of the cat. And this is not because they're best friends. This is more than likely due to a parasite that the chipmunk has. The parasite in question is Toxoplasma gondii, which causes toxoplasmosis. And when this parasite is passed on to rodents, it makes them unafraid of cats. Specifically, it makes them like the smell. As a result, these toxoplasmosis rodents will play with the cats, they're completely unafraid, and they allow themselves to be eaten essentially. And it's thought that this was developed to complete the life cycle of the parasite because Toxoplasma gondii thrives inside of cats.
Sorry, man. You're done. All done.
Okay, first off, I do want to say this guy is not overreacting. Second, this is not a guy being brought back to life. This is a video that was sent to me through Instagram DM. In it, this guy can be seen lying on a table looking relatively calm. That is until an electrical current travels through him and he seemingly wakes up screaming. Now, this video has been posted many times in many places, and oftentimes people claim that this guy was brought back to life and that he was dead for a few seconds, when in reality that's not the case. This is actually a procedure known as cardioversion. Patients that undergo cardioversion are not dead, rather their heart is beating in an irregular way. So in order to remedy that and bring it back to the baseline normal heartbeat, they use electrical therapy to do that and shock the heart. As you can imagine, electrical shocks going through your heart, probably not going to be the most comfortable, which is why this guy is screaming. Also, he probably wasn't sedated. Two things. This woman definitely saved this guy's life, and this guy probably should have had more situational awareness here. The video that you guys just watched shows these three people on a security camera inside of a bus. This guy, you can see, gets off of the bus. This guy's about to follow. When this woman, instead of allowing him to walk off, grabs him and pulls him back, the door then shuts. And right after I cut the video off, this guy who first got off comes back and fires a few shots through the door at this guy. For context, this is an incident that happened very recently this past summer in Chicago involving this 18-year-old William Soto, the one who walked off of the bus first. While on the bus, William claimed his affiliation to a gang and thought that a 40-year-old man, the one that was behind him, was insulting him, so he told him, "When you get off, I'll have something waiting for you." It was at this point William got off, turned around, and noticed the 40-year-old didn't follow and fired in. Sorry about that, guys. I know this video more than likely made a lot of people uncomfortable, myself included. This is a video that was sent to me through Instagram DM. In it, this man can be seen grabbing his hair, pulling up, his scalp then lifts up in a very unnatural way. And then, even more shocking, he can be seen pushing over his Adam's apple in a very unnatural position. I'm sure this guy was probably the most popular kid back in elementary school because this would be looked at like having a superpower, but at this age we know that this is an actual condition known as EDS, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Most cases of EDS involve having flexible and fragile skin that you can pull and or joint hypermobility. And I'm not gonna lie, I got pretty stretchy skin and joint hypermobility. I might have undiagnosed EDS. Either way, standard EDS is okay, it's not that big of a deal. More extreme versions though can impact your vascular system and shorten your lifespan.
Look at this. Perfect. Oh my god.
It might look like this person's fingers are in the process of dying, but do not worry guys, in general this is kind of harmless. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in. It shows this person running their fingers under hot water, and you'll notice all of their fingers are completely white. Over the course of the short video, the color is gradually restored until finally the fingers look normal, albeit a little bit red. Now, this is a relatively common condition, something known as Raynaud syndrome. It's definitely not a pleasant one. What happens is smaller blood vessels will constrict due to a cold response, and this will cause the blood to not flow properly to these certain areas. Usually it occurs on the extremities like the fingers. So what happens is the fingers will turn white because there's no blood. Skin can then turn blue, and eventually when you start warming it up, it will be more red in response because it's trying to overcorrect. Bear in mind, this can also be a result of stress, so it really just depends.
Why phones aren't allowed at work.
If you were to ask me to guess whether or not this guy survived, my guess would be almost 100% no, but surprisingly, he was much luckier than I thought. The video that you guys just watched was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, this guy can be seen opening up this elevator, paying attention to only his phone, then walking into the elevator shaft and falling. I cut the video off though before anything really bad was shown. Now for context, this incident happened very recently in Guangdong, China. This worker here obviously was not following the proper safety protocol, and when he fell here, you'll notice he actually was carrying a pallet jack, which on average weighs between 100 to 200 pounds. Now I'm not too sure how far this guy fell, but this is more than enough weight to cause a very serious fatal injury. Really, the number one rule of thumb here is to always pay attention when you're around an elevator shaft. I know this seems like common sense, but these accidents happen all the time. I don't know what would compel somebody to do this besides curiosity. Either way, this was a horrible idea. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in. However, I will admit I've seen it on other platforms. In it, this guy can be seen smiling, going through the inside of a car wash. Already, you know it's not a good idea. Then gets hit with an object as you would expect, and I'll clarify what that is here in a couple of seconds. Now, as we all know, car washes are a lot of fun to go through. However, there are a lot of moving parts, and it can be dangerous if you are exposed inside of a car wash. You've seen people get pulled into these spinning brushes. This is a super viral video if you guys remember this. Despite this fact, there are multiple videos of people online going through car washes while in the bed of their trucks. In this case though, instead of actually getting hit by a component of the car wash, I believe he got hit by one of these foldable hardtop truck bed covers. And it's said that this guy's jaw got broken.
Beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person.
Look, I'm going to be brutally honest. I am not too sure what we're looking at. I have my ideas, so just take what I say with a grain of salt. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this person recording what looks to be a cup filled with water or a bucket. And on the inside is this alien-looking creature. It looks like something that just quite simply does not belong on Earth. Now, immediately upon looking at this, the first thing that came to mind is a house centipede. If you look at the legs right here, they are spread out in the exact same way seen in the original video that I got tagged in. That being said, when house centipedes drown, usually their legs are going to curl in like this, as you guys can see from this photo. And even when the legs don't curl in, there's not this large bulbous mass on the end like is seen here. I'm not too sure what this is. Really, the only thing that I can think of is the house centipede got sprayed by something that coagulated and balled up. Again, that's just a shot in the dark. I do want to be clear, I am not advocating for you to climb on top of an elevator car if you get stuck. However, you probably won't get crushed. The video that you guys just watched shows a person standing on top of an elevator car moving up. And at first, we're under the impression that the person recording might get crushed. However, that is fortunately not the case, and a lot of people in the comments were surprised when they found this out. So this is some niche information, but if the elevator that you're in was built after 1975, the regulations dictate that there should be at least a 2-foot space on top of the car to prevent a person from getting crushed if they're on top of it. However, when it comes to older elevators, earlier than 1975, that was not a requirement, but most elevators still included it anyways because it's just about safety. That being said, if you get stuck in an elevator, do not try to climb outside of the car. Even though you won't get stuck, it's more dangerous than just hanging out.
Do not get close to the dreaded triggerfish.
If you're ever snorkeling or scuba diving and you see a fish like this, it is definitely not the best idea to approach it. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in that shows this person who's approaching what they thought was just an ugly fish for a close-up. In the clip, nothing happens, and they're very lucky because this right here is a triggerfish. There are many different types of triggerfish species. Most of them are relatively harmless, but there's one triggerfish in general that can be quite aggressive, and it's the one that you don't want to approach. That being the Titan triggerfish. As you can see, it has teeth that look eerily similar to a human's teeth. And while they're not poisonous, just due to their aggressive nature, if they bite you, it can be very painful, it can break your skin, and it can also become infected. These fish have very noticeable characteristics, so if you are in the ocean and you happen to see one, it's very easy to avoid them, and because of their ridiculous look, they are also in memes. You guys already know, this is another video where I'm not going to be able to show the entire thing, and trust me, that's a good thing. This one's very gnarly. This is a video that was sent to me through Facebook DM. In it, this guy can be seen standing right next to a fair ride. Unfortunately though, he's standing far too close to the moving part, and this portion where the riders sit ends up coming down and making very harsh contact with his head. The man seen in this footage was a 28-year-old father by the name of Corey Lee Stavers. For context, this incident very recently happened here in August of 2025 at the Spanish City Fun Fair located in Whitley Bay. According to my research, it would appear as though Corey was attempting to retrieve a jacket, and this was when he ended up getting too close to this Miami-themed ride, but either way, Corey unfortunately did not make it because the head trauma was so severe. You know what? I'm being completely honest. I used to mess around with these all the time and do this, but I'm not going to do that anymore after doing research. The video that you guys just watched shows a person walking up to these small white balls on the ground, pressing into them. Many of you guys probably recognize these as puffballs, and this person pushes down onto them and releases the spores into the air. Now, puffballs, for the most part, are not harmful at all. In fact, during certain stages of their growth, they are edible. However, when it's time for them to reproduce, the inside of them becomes hollow, and the spores are then present, and they exit through these small holes in the top. As it turns out, if you accidentally inhale too many of these small spores, you can end up getting a respiratory infection. This is known as lycoperdenosis, and while most people will make a successful recovery, it can be deadly in certain cases, especially if you do not have very strong lungs.
This poor lion probably has zoochosis.
Being realistic here, I'm not too sure if this is the best example for zoochosis. However, zoochosis is real, so we're going to talk about it. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this person at a zoo recording this lion, and the lion appears to be vocalizing numerous times on repeat. The caption here then says, not knowing what zoochosis was, but then remembering this video I took at the Melbourne Zoo. Zoochosis, or stereotypic behavior as it's officially recognized, is something that could be observed in a variety of different zoo animals that are held in captivity, and it's mainly characterized by repetitive and purposeless things that animals do, like walking in a circle, for example, biting the bars, or in some cases, self-mutilation. That being said, lions do grunt and vocalize repetitively in the wild as well. This is a way to communicate with their pride, so that could be what we're seeing here, but still, zoochosis is real and it's a major issue for a lot of captive animals. With the rise of AI, you probably think that this right here is completely improbable, just an AI prompt. Nope, this is real. I've been getting tagged in this for at least a couple years now. Pretty basic video here. We've got a person recording their faucet. We then see that there's a lighter held up to the water. You might be thinking nothing's gonna happen. But out of nowhere, the water appears to just randomly catch fire and there's a blaze coming out. So just right out the gate, whenever you see water catching fire, this is usually going to be the result of gas that has made its way into a water source, and typically that gas is going to be methane, which is very flammable. And recently, a lot of people have been discovering that their water sources are now filled with this methane gas as a result of fracking, which is one method of extracting natural gases. And this can release methane, which can then make its way into a water supply, especially if that water supply isn't very well contained. Regardless of whether or not this video is real or fake, there is no doubt that it is insanely creepy and it gives you a pretty bad vibe. This video claims to show a person getting a phone call from their dead uncle. In the phone call, the supposed deceased family member states that they're in hell and that it wants you dead. This quite frankly seems like something straight out of a horror movie. Now, believe it or not, there are actually lots of first-hand accounts of people who have received phone calls from deceased family members, or at least gotten phone calls from numbers that used to belong to deceased family members. And in some cases, there are even disembodied voices on the other side whispering creepy things. And while there's no pinned down reason for why this might happen, there are some rational ideas. Number one, these could be telemarketers or scammers preying on your vulnerable emotional state by using a dead family member. Or in some cases, phone calls or voicemails might have accidentally been set to deliver at a later date. I want to say that this is fake. Realistically, I'm not too sure. The one thing that is certain is that AI has made it difficult to know what's real and what's not. That being said, this video shows what appears to be GoPro footage of a person traveling over a crocodile-infested river, and instead of it being a drone getting the footage, which is what I originally thought, it's a person paragliding. That being said, in order to successfully be above the river for this long and get all these different angles, the person would have to be doing something known as powered paragliding, which is where you basically attach a large fan that propels you forward and keeps you from falling directly down. This activity is already dangerous enough. As we all know, Grant Thompson unfortunately passed away at the age of 38 from one of these accidents, but doing this above a crocodile-infested river is very unnecessary. That being said, this just doesn't feel real, and I also don't see any propulsion device in the back, so I think this is AI. Might not see what's wrong with this video right here, but it all hinges around this charcoal grill that's inside of this house. The video that you guys just watched shows a family sitting around this middle table, and in the center is a charcoal grill. Out of nowhere, somebody to the left ends up passing out. This guy then attempts to open the door, and he also starts passing out. At the time, these people certainly did not realize it, but they were subjecting themselves to carbon monoxide poisoning, which is deadly. It's actually kind of insane that they survived this. Carbon monoxide gas is the byproduct of incomplete combustion of things like wood, charcoal, propane, etc. And this gas is completely odorless, colorless, you can't see it, sense it, and oftentimes people end up dying before they even realize that they're getting poisoned. So grilling inside of your house causes that carbon monoxide to fill up the air, and you are likely going to get poisoned. I knew that it was a matter of time before this video finally resurfaced and got reposted to TikTok. I got tagged in it, so let's talk about it again. This is 2 years later, by the way. This is a video that has little to no answers. In it, we can see a horse's neck. Right in the middle of that horse's neck is a hole. The person recording sticks their hand through the hole, and the horse is completely fine. It's in no pain whatsoever. Now, first and foremost, there are two different possible explanations here. One is the most plausible, though. It would appear as though people remember this horse from a show called Animal Cops, where they rescued a horse that got shot in the neck by its owner. The horse was then later rescued, and this is what caused the hole. But I saw other conflicting reports stating that the horse was born like this and that this is rather just a deformity. Either way, the injury does not appear to be hindering or hurting the horse at all, as it's in a non-vital area of the neck. This is 2 days in a row now, guys, that I've covered a video of somebody falling off of a high place, and it's something that could have been avoided. This is a video that went relatively viral about a week ago. In it, these people can be seen walking up a mountain, and at the same time, there's a person in the distance sliding uncontrollably towards the edge of the mountain, and things ended up exactly the way you'd expect here. For context, this video was recorded on Mount Nama, which is located in China. It's a roughly 18,000 foot mountain, and while it's not the most technical mountain, at least compared to other ones like K2, just like any mountain, things can go wrong and people can lose their lives. What ended up happening here is this 31-year-old climber untied his tether to the safety rope, which is this one that everybody is attached to. He ended up slipping and falling, and once he started getting that downwards momentum, it was pretty much game over and nobody could do anything to save him.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing where it rested at.
In my opinion, the worst part about this video is the fact that this was 100% avoidable, and really it just shouldn't have happened. This is a video that a lot of people probably haven't seen. That's because it was deleted and you have to search elsewhere for it. In it, this guy can be seen rappelling down the edge of this face of a cliff. And I cut the video off before anything really bad happens, but he ends up falling shortly after the clip ends. For context, this clip features a young 23-year-old climber by the name of Ballin Miller from Alaska. He was becoming quite famous for his abilities in climbing. Recently, he decided to climb El Capitan, a peak located in Yosemite National Park. He climbed 2,400 feet up the face and successfully made it to the top. However, his gear bag accidentally got caught on a jagged edge, which required him to rappel back down to retrieve it. When he went down to retrieve it, he ended up falling because he did not tie stopper knots in his rope and he just rappelled right off the end.